Alright, what's up everybody? It's your boy Akin here to give you part 2 of my top 20 quarterbacks headed for the 2014 fantasy football season. For this blog, I'm here to give you my top 10 quarterbacks overall. Now before I begin, once again, this is going to be a couple of controversial selections, particularly at my number 8 pick, but I beg you guys to please hear me out of my reasonings of why I have my top 10 players as the way they are. Starting at number 10, I'm going to go with Andy Dalton of the Cincinnati Bengals. Now last season he placed 5th overall according to ESPN, and I don't care what anybody says and how much bad talk people say about him and not winning a playoff battle. He is still a good quarterback who can give you some valuable fantasy points. Like I said before, and I'm going to say this again, you cannot be a fan and look at the season outturn of the wins and losses for the teams, but you have to look at the quarterback's performance, the individual performance, and he placed 5th overall. That's why I had to put him at 10 for this year's draft, for this year's fantasy football rankings. At number 9, I had a jumper player who ranked 18th overall last season. He had a sophomore slump, and RG3, Robert Griffin III. Now he had 16 touchdown passes and 12 interceptions. He did pass for over 3,000 yards and 489 yards rushing and only 1 rushing touchdown. Had a down year, but he has a great arsenal of a receiving core with Jordan Reed at tight end. Let's not forget about Santana Moss, and they picked up Deshaun Jackson from the Philadelphia Eagles and Andre Roberts out of the Arizona Cardinals. And please let's not forget about Pierre Garçon, who had over 100 catches last season. I think this could be a big time threat at the receiving core and a good tandem overall. Now I think that RG3 is going to mature this season, bounce back from his sophomore slump, and I think he's going to understand that he shouldn't put too much pressure in him, and I think he needs to do a better job in his decision making and throwing the football. He does have a decent strong arm, but his accuracy and his decisions overall are not up to par. He really kind of acts like that he has to throw a touchdown pass each pass or make a spectacular play. He just needs to understand that it has to take one play at a time, and I think he needs to be more calm and understand that not every play needs to be a big play or a first round. Sometimes you have to be a little bit conservative at times at quarterback, and I think he's going to need to mature this upcoming season. At number 8, this is where the controversy begins, and I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this one. A player who I'm not a big fan personally due to his attitude, but I think he could step it up this season, and Jay Cutler out of the Chicago Bears. Now, with the emergence of Alshon Jeffrey this past season, I think that Jay Cutler could prevail well this upcoming season and triumph in fantasy football points. And I think you guys need to hear me out on this. Because of the emergence of Alshon Jeffrey, as well as Martellus Bentley, who had over 750 yards receiving last season, I think that he could, Jay Cutler can definitely collect a lot of good points with these good receiving cores. And let's not forget about his already good relationship with Brandon Marshall. I think this could be a good quarterback wide receiver with Marshall and Jay Cutler, but with the emergence of Alshon Jeffrey and Martellus Bennett, I think that Cutler could definitely have some good points week after week. But he also needs to do a better job in his decision making and not throw as many interceptions. Now I'm going to point out one other thing. Combined with him as well as Josh McCown, both these two players combined with 291 points, which definitely would have made it within the top 5 in fantasy points and points overall. And I think that he has the ability to crack the top 10. That's why I have him at number 8, and I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that one. At number 7, I'm going to have to go with Cam Newton of the Carolina Panthers. Now he placed 3rd overall in points overall at the end of the season. Now with Steve Smith gone, Cam Newton is going to have to deal with a lot more responsibility and actually having a good collaboration with young incoming rookie Kelvin Benjamin. Now they don't really have a sick receiving core. Jericho Cotchery is the only good veteran that I do have my eyes on, but I don't think he's going to be a great player. Hasn't had such a great season until the last time he had a great season was back when he was a New York Jet years ago, and I'm not really feeling too well of the receiving core for the Carolina Panthers. But Cam Newton's going to have to do a lot more work in running the football, and still, hopefully, he could try to help this team repeat and making it to the playoffs. That's why I had to drop him at number 7. He placed 3rd overall last season. At number 6, I'm going to go with Matthew Stafford out of the Detroit Lions. Now, he placed 7 overall in points at the end of the season. Now, with the addition of Golden Tate, I think that Matthew Stafford is going to be a lot more hungry, and I think he's going to collect great points at the quarterback position. And let's not forget about running backs Joy Bell and Reggie Bush, who both had over 500 yards receiving last season, and we already know about Megatron. He's actually placed 3rd overall in receiving points last season, once again, according to ESPN. And I think that Matthew Stafford is definitely going to be liking the receiving core that he has, especially with the addition of Golden Tate. At number 5, I'm going to have to go with my man, Colin Kaepernick out of the San Francisco 49ers. He placed 9th overall last season, 539 yards rushing, but only 1 rushing touchdowns. I think that rushing touchdowns going to get to at least 5 this upcoming season. 3,300 yards passing, 21 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. Now, yes, a lot of defenses are starting to figure him out a little bit, but once later on, when the season progressed, he started improving a little bit. He did come off a great week 1 victory against the Green Bay Packers, and I had a lot of high hopes for him, but then defenses started to figure him out and how to defend this particular quarterback. But then he got a little bit more calm and started progressing going towards the end of the season. I think he could be due for another good top 5, a good top 5 season at quarterback. At number 4, a player who I think is going to explode this season is Andrew Luck of the Indianapolis Colts. 3,822 yards passing, 23 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions, and he is an underrated player in running the football, a big strong player who even used a truck stick to gain some extra power yardage at running the football. Now, people are doubting Trent Richardson at the running back position, so Andrew Luck is going to have to step it up, and I think he is due for an exploding 2014 season, and he actually played 4th overall last season. That's why I have him again at number 4. At number 3, a player who dropped out of rankings last season due to injury is Aaron Rodgers out of the Green Bay Packers. Now, he is actually in great stride. He needs to get back into great stride. And since he was actually, I take that back. I apologize for that. He was actually in great stride coming towards for the first 8 weeks of the season, where he racked up 120 and 62 points overall until he got hurt. But then he came back with a 318-yard passing performance against the Chicago Bears at the end of the season and 2 passing touchdowns, especially with that game winner. I think that Aaron Rodgers is due for a great season. Some people even have him ranked number 2 overall. At number 2, I'm going to have to go with Drew Brees out of the New Orleans Saints. 348 points last season, over 5,000 yards passing, 39 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. I think he's going to be due for another good season. He was actually did well last year, ranked 2nd overall. And number 1, this was an obvious pick for me, in Peyton Manning out of the Denver Broncos. 406 points. He's the leader at the quarterback position, and he actually is up almost 60 points over Drew Brees, the number 2 player. And I'm going to give you some tips coming towards the end of all of my videos for your selections for your draft for this year's NFL fantasy football season. Now, Peyton Manning had 55 touchdown passes, 10 interceptions, and over 5,400 yards passing last season. And he was, if it wasn't for Jamal Charles, he would have been the fantasy football player of the year. But at the quarterback position and with a pass-happy league, he definitely had a lot of great points. And I'm going to give you some tips on particular for Peyton Manning for this year's draft. Now, this season, I'm going to give you my sleeper and my bust next. My sleeper this year, I'm going to have to go with E.J. Manuel out of the Buffalo Bills. I think with the addition of Sammy Watkins and with the return of E.J. Manuel, I think he could shock a couple of players and probably either crack the top 20 or just miss the top 20. I think he could become a decent backup for you guys for this year's fantasy football league. Now, the player who I think who's most vulnerable of busting this season, and that I have to go with Jay Cutler out of the Chicago Bears. I think he's a good player, possibly definitely crack the top 15, but I have him projected within my top 10, and he needs to not throw as much interceptions as he's been doing throughout his career. He needs to make better decisions, just like Josh McCown did last season with only 1 interception. He is now at Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I think that Jay Cutler has the ability to cover up those points from what him and Josh McCown had combined last season. I think he could be due for a good year, but at the same time, I think because he throws too many interceptions, he could be a bust. Also, he has a couple of health issues. He was injured for most of last season, and I think that's a bit of a concern for fantasy leaguers out there. So I have him as my bust this season. Now, the next time I'm going to catch you guys will be on Wednesday, where I will give you my top 20 running backs. I'll see you guys then. Thank you for watching today's vlogs. From Pro Football Exclusive, I'm your man, Akin. Be easy.